Dudes, welcome to Sense of Style. I'm Stuart. 8 designer masterpiece fragrances. When you have a title like that, do you really need an intro? Let's just get to the fragrances. These are awesome. Fragrance number 1. This is Mercedes-Benz Club Black, and I honestly believe this is the perfect vanilla fragrance for men, niche or otherwise. Why? Because vanilla is really hard to do for men. You make it too sweet, a lot of guys are going to find that a little feminine. If you don't make it sweet enough, you don't get that vanilla warmth, it's not going to smell as good. You need to get that perfect balance, that smooth vanilla that is also masculine. This is done to perfection here. Olivier Cresp is the perfumer. He did the Givenchy Gentleman EDP line. He used a lot of benzoin here. Now, benzoin's a sweet resin. It also has a little bit of a balsamic kick, a little bit of a smokiness, and then incense as well. There's incense in here too. And between those two notes, it makes it perfectly masculine. It also has really good projection, really good longevity, and the price is almost impossible to beat. A couple months ago, I was checking the prices for this. $50 still at the discounters. But the odd thing about this is it does seem to be niche adjacent in a way. It's not just a cheap designer fragrance. Altair comes out, like the Vanilla Kings from Parfum de Marly. Their new vanilla fragrance, what was it compared to the most on Fragrantica? This guy. And normally on Fragrantica, people compare niche to niche and designer to designer. The first thing that came to mind when they smelled Altair was this. I don't think they're all that similar, but a lot of people did. This is a top quality fragrance. There are no flaws here. Fragrance number 2. Now, there are hidden gems, and then there are hidden gems. In 2016, Paco Rabanne released Invictus Aqua, and it was a phenomenon. It was an aquatic that had a lot of sweetness to it that hadn't been done before. It also had really good performance. So it was a great summer fragrance, especially for young guys that are used to sweet fragrances. And it sold out like crazy. But then Paco Rabanne decided they had too much money. Too much. So they discontinued it. Anyway, everyone went crazy trying to find a replacement. Montblanc had theirs. Davidoff had theirs. Paco Rabanne decided they wanted to try 2018, but none of them captured the magic of the original. The funny thing was the best replacement had been released a year before. It was Rasasi Hawass, but it's a Middle Eastern fragrance. And back then, Middle Eastern fragrances didn't have the profile that they have now. There were a lot of YouTubers, like smaller YouTubers, that were aware of it and talking about it, including Jora Mihail, hugely underrated channel, but a lot of the big ones in the English-speaking world, the Americans and the Brits, they didn't know about it. So it went under the radar. And then all of a sudden in 2021, they discovered it, and it sold out like crazy. I know because I was one of them that tried to get it, and I couldn't buy it. It is a great summer fragrance, a perfect alternative. It's not perfect, but a really good alternative to Invictus Aqua. The big thing here is just the beast mode performance in a fresh fragrance. But it also has a lot of sweetness. It's got some fruit. It's got plum and apple. It's got some ambroxan. That really helps the freshness, and some citrus notes. Really good performance all around. Beautiful fragrance, completely under the radar for a long time. Another great story of redemption is fragrance number 3. This is Dior Homme 2020, and this came out after the original Dior Homme had a lot of iris. This did not, and everybody had a heart attack, and this got absolutely panned back then. It was unbelievable. The lowest rating that I've seen in a long time, 3.65 on Fragrantica. And people didn't just say, oh, it doesn't have iris. A lot of people said that this was crap. Now, the funny thing is I read about this just before the video. It's all great now. Everybody loves it. The rating is now 4.07. This is a fantastic woody fragrance. There's 4 different woody notes, including cashmerean, isoe super, cedar, and vetiver. But it's also like really high end. It smells really expensive, smells really elegant. This is a fragrance you can wear if you're meeting a president or a prime minister, but you can also wear it in shorts in the summer. It's one of the most versatile fragrances ever. I have a really hard time thinking of a place you can't wear this because the performance is really good. You can wear it in the winter as well. You can wear it in the office. It's just an absolutely gorgeous formal fragrance. And yeah, it certainly got a lot of redemption. Number 4, Drakkar Noir. Now, any fragrance that gets me laid is a masterpiece. And I was wearing this when I met my wife back in the early 90s. And yeah, she loved it. So seriously, though, there's more to it than just that. This is a barbershop fragrance that did something relatively innovative. It added a little bit of sweetness. So what is a barbershop fragrance exactly? To me, a barbershop fragrance is lavender, because the kind of soap you would get in a barbershop that they would put on your face is lavender scented soap. Talc that they put on you after you've had your haircut is an oak moss scent. It's a very well-known brand. Oak moss and lavender are 2 herbal notes that are often talked about as being barbershoppy, but this has them in abundance. It also has amber, thus the noir part. Now, a normal noir fragrance today would have a lot more sweetness, but in 1982, this was a lot of sweetness for a barbershop-style fragrance. It was very, very popular. Women loved it, and a lot of guys got laid back then because of this fragrance. Very few designer fragrances get copied by niche houses. This is one of them. This is Gucci Guilty Absolute. This came out in 2016. Very masculine. A lot of heavy leather, a lot of woods, but it's lightened up a lot by an evergreen note that gives it some freshness and allows it to breathe a bit. And despite being a hyper masculine, it was very, very popular. So popular, in fact, that By Killian decided they were going to copy it, and they released Dark Lord. I don't know if it's an exact copy, but it was definitely inspired by this. Then Joe Malone did it with Bronze Wood and Leather. So yeah, a couple years after, you had 2 niche houses that had a very, very similar scent profile to this. The interesting thing here is you're always told it's not a blind buy, and it's not a blind buy, but I do think 3 out of 4 guys would still really like it. The problem is that one of those 4 guys will not like it at all, will really wonder what's going on. It does have a medicinal kind of tinge to it. It is super masculine. It also doesn't really fit the modern profile. But man, if you love it like me, you will love it too. Yeah, I mean, I think it's a masterpiece. Fragrance number 6, this is Hannah More's Him, and this is actually a clone of Gucci Pour Homme 2. So why would I put a clone on a masterpiece list? Well, first of all, Gucci Pour Homme 2 is a very odd smelling fragrance. It's amazing, but as it comes about getting that scent in a weird way, it's got tons of violet leaf, which is very fresh, almost sharp. But that's mixed with a very sweet cinnamon. So a stickily sweet cinnamon and violet leaf, odd combination, but it works wonderfully. And the great thing about Him is that it's not just a clone, it captures the full experience of the scent. For instance, this is Equus by Lalique. Now, this is a citrus woody to open, and eventually it turns into something that allows you to understand the hype around Gucci Pour Homme 2. You can get an idea of the scent, but it's nowhere near like this. It doesn't smell just like Gucci Pour Homme 2. You put this on, it goes on thick and rich and very deep. And for that first 3 or 4 hours that you have it on, it projects a bit. It really feels very similar to a very difficult fragrance to copy. And so that's why this is going for $150 on eBay. Fragrance number 7 is Paco Rabanne's Pure Excess. And this is a really good fragrance, really underrated fragrance as what we used to call a clubbing fragrance. You know, people don't talk about clubbing fragrances anymore, but basically, if you're going to be around a lot of people having a good time, having a little bit of booze, relaxing, and having fun, this is a great fragrance because it's got great performance and it smells fun. It's sweet. It projects an awful lot. It's a very strong fragrance, and it's just really nice. Now, this has a lot of myrrh in it. So what is myrrh exactly? It's a resin. It has a little bit of an earthy feel, and a little bit bitter, It's a little bit licoricey. So what Paco Rabanne did, they liked the darkness of the myrrh, and they added a sugar note to really sweeten it up. I've never seen a sugar note before. I'm sure there are other ones out there, but the sugar and the myrrh, it goes together, and then there's a lot of vanilla. And to top it all off, there's a liquor note, so it's a little boozy too. It's a fun fragrance, and people around you, if you're in a big party or whatever, people around you will love the scent. And finally, Acqua di Gio Profumo. I'm sorry, the parfum is super popular. It doesn't do it for me. You know what I like about this? We talked about masculinity early on, and it's not like Acqua di Gio is not masculine, but this is more masculine. That incense note adds that bite. Incense is a really good note for men. It adds that bite of incense, and I think it's kind of bland without it. It's not as masculine. This thing changed the game for Acqua di Gio. And yeah, this one, I'm sorry, I'm going to take this. I know the other one is smooth, and I know the younger guys are into sweeter fragrances, but, if you're over 30, masculinity counts. These are all masterpieces. I hope you guys have a Merry Christmas, great holidays. Take care.